David Lombardi's game story in the San Francisco Standard. Shout out to San Francisco Stanford. And he says that his symbol is like Bosa going from one oblique to the other. He says it's like the 49ers. Whenever one problem appears neutralized, another one pops up. So pretty good line there from Lombardi, who we have on the UMA guest line. So David Lombardi of the San Francisco Standard. I like the website. It's clean. I like it, and I like reading David's game story about a morose Christian McCaffrey and an injured Nick Bosa and a stagnant offense. Other than that, all is well. Hey, David, welcome back to Murph and Marcus. How you doing, man?
Hey, morning, David.
Good. How are you guys doing?
Well, we're on the Big Island of Hawaii. I know you're a big swimmer.
You're in Hawaii?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you're not following us on
there?
the YouTube? You're not on the YouTube stream this morning, buddy?
KMBR trip.
I thought you rolled out of bed and dialed us up on YouTube, bud.
I tend to stay off of social media. I do what they call the post and ghost. Now that's my strategy.
No, we do annual Hawaiian Airlines.
I don't know that you're in Hawaii because of that. I should get back on social media more.
Or our producer should have told you when he got you on the line.
Yeah,
so
aloha, David.
We do
That's
Hawaiian
awesome.
Airlines and Westin Hapuna do this listener giveaway annually in November. And so we came out here. Obviously it was a tough week at KBR last week, to say the least. So it was kind of awkward timing, to say the least. But it was on the books for months. And then we got the game yesterday, and we were like, hey, man, that's not good. So your game story kind of sums it up, but you focused on the offense, David, and you had some stats to back it up too. But could you tell us what your observation is about why the offensive production was down?
Yeah, well, first off, the defense was, I don't want to say lights out, but they were really good when Nick Bosa was in the game. They're giving up like 3.3 yards per play. They didn't give up a single touchdown when Bosa was in there. It was after he got hurt where the wheels fell off. It was over like 6 yards of play. Both Seattle touchdowns came after Bosa exited the game. So when you look at that, you look to see what the offensive production was. And when they finished with only 17 points, it's like, okay, well, the defense needs some help here. And they didn't get enough help. The offense had a couple chances to close out the game, didn't get it done. And when I look at just watching it with the naked eye and now having rewatched the game this morning and then also pulling in some of the data, there just was no easy sledding for the offense yesterday. It was all tough sledding. They had one explosive pass play. It was a 22-yarder to Juwan Jennings. But they did have several big plays as far as third down conversions they needed to get. But every single one of those they had a fight tooth and nail to get it. It was either Brock Purdy diving across the pylon for the touchdown on the first drive, or it was Juwan Jennings just going into Superman mode, carrying four guys on his back to first down. There was no big open range of space, and Seattle had that several times against the 49ers defense, especially late when Bosa was out. But the 49ers never in this game had an easy conversion. And we had grown accustomed to that with Kyle Shanahan since 2017, even when they had much less of a full stable of weapons, right? Even when they were not nearly as talented as they are now, there'd be space. Kyle Shanahan would be able to scheme up some, gimmies. People would call them gimmies, and people would say, oh, this is such a QB-friendly offense. Look, he's throwing into wide open spaces. That just didn't exist yesterday, and it hasn't existed in several key situations this year. I would even go back to the week before where the 49ers had to pull out a couple true superstar connections. They went Purdy to McCaffrey, Purdy to George Kittle, toe tap in the end zone. I mean, those were two seismically great plays, but they might have masked the fact that nothing was coming easy for the 49ers in that game. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Mahomes, if you're Josh Allen, if you're Tom Brady back in the day. You have to have some of the gimmies because it's not sustainable to operate with tight window throw after tight window throw and Juwan Jennings carrying defenders for first downs. You're just not going to generate the offensive production that you need to over the course of a season or, much less a game yesterday if you can't scheme some of that room. So I personally think that right now Kyle Shanahan is like a pitcher that's lost his fastball or just doesn't have his stuff this inning right now. And, he's throwing 91 or 92 for whatever reason when he's normally throwing 97 or 98. And he's trying to make it through the middle of the order, and he's really struggling because he doesn't have that stuff. And he's going to have to find a way to regain it, find a way to get the cleanup hitter out next week, because they're facing the very, very heart of the order with Green Bay and Buffalo, and they've got to make these adjustments on the fly. But I do think it starts with the schematics.
Yeah, and David, you mentioned George Kittle's name. I think a lot of 49er fans woke up Sunday morning a little surprised that Kittle was not going to play, especially with all the injuries that he's played through in his career. So what can you tell us about the seriousness of this injury, and is it as simple as not having George Kittle on the field playing the factor in the 49ers only scoring 17 points?
Well, that obviously hurts things schematically, but the 49ers have to do a better job adapting. You can't the essence of this offense, and this has been the case through the years, is that it's not about just one player. And they finished as the number one offense in the league last year, and they dealt with some injuries throughout last season. Ever since Christian McCaffrey showed up in 2022, they were the number one offense as well. So they've been able to make sure that this isn't about one player. And if it was about just Kittle being out yesterday and his threat of, he's the guy that's able to block but also be deployed on pass patterns, and then he gives that sense of unpredictability to the defense. If that missing is what derailed the 49ers, then the structure of the offense as a whole is not where it needs to be. You have to be able to make up for that, especially if you've got Christian McCaffrey available. If you have Jawan Jennings, who, again, was a complete machine yesterday, available. Deebo Samuel is still on this offense, and I think he can still make plays. But, a good example of the 49ers, I think, just not being where they need to be in this chess match schematically is every single time that they run laterally, and these used to be money plays for them, either sweeps or reverses, they're going for a yard, or they're lucky to get to the line of scrimmage whenever they run one of these lateral runs to Deebo Samuel. You guys remember that? But, this is a 2021 to 2023 thing. Even back in 2019, when Deebo Samuel was a rookie, it seemed to always go for a chunk, that they would always have the defense set up vulnerable in a way for misdirection, for attacking that perimeter. And now defenses are just on it. And to me, that shows that Shanahan isn't quite where he was in the past, and they're going to have to do some serious self-scouting. I don't know if this is a fix that you can make just this season, because it has been an issue all year. They have been relying on stars way too much to make plays. But if they're going to save this season offensively, they're going to have to make the adjustments on the fly before they head to Green Bay and to Buffalo.
Good stuff. David Lombardi, the San Francisco Standard, just pointing out the inefficiencies or the flaws in the offense yesterday, and maybe even season-wide on some level, too. You said you rewatched the game, so I don't know. Did you see anything in Ricky Pearsall on why he did not show in the stat sheet?
Well, again, there's very little separation. The 49ers average, this is a next-gen stats. I'm trying to quantify what I'm seeing, just so I'm not one of those people just saying, oh, guys aren't open or whatever. But we try to quantify it with numbers, and this could be a limited number over a smaller sample. But next-gen stats tracks the average separation using the GPS trackers at the time of catch. So it's only at the time of catch, so you have to have a large enough sample for this to mean something. But the 49ers rank dead last in the entire NFL in terms of average separation at the time of catch, which means that guys just are not operating with a lot of room. And the other four teams at the bottom, and I'm sure you saw this in the article, are some of the worst teams in football. It's teams like the Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants, the Dallas Cowboys. The 49ers are the only one of those teams at the bottom of the entire ranking that have a 500 record, that don't have a losing record. They're 5-5 right now. So what that tells me is exactly what I saw with guys like Pearsall and everybody else on the field. They're just not operating with a lot of room. The scheme isn't really, giving them the gimmies, some of the gimmies that Seattle had yesterday at crucial moments. And because of that, it's a fight tooth and nail for everything that the 49ers are getting. And it's a lot tougher for a rookie, especially when getting used to the strength of the NFL level, to win in that kind of dogfight. And I saw that with Pearsall yesterday. There was that one play over the middle where, it was just, again, not a lot of space, mano-a-mano, super physical battle. You'd like to get him some room. And I think they did that a little bit better in Tampa Bay on the touchdown, on the crosser. They were finally able to separate the defense, get guys open downfield. And that's where Ricky Pearsall can really showcase some of his route running. But I think in this game yesterday, the 49ers just did not have it set up, and it turned into one of those dogfights where it was Jawan Jennings having to bowl his way through the entire defense.
Yesterday was Christian McCaffrey's second game back in action. 19 carries, 79 yards, also had 4 catches, 27 yards. David, what's your evaluation so far of Christian McCaffrey, and were you surprised to see Jordan Mason not involved more with carries yesterday?
I thought Mason had a couple good runs in the first half, and it wouldn't have surprised me if they went to him just a few more times because he looked really fresh, and it makes sense that he's fresh now that he's not getting the 20-plus carries a week, so he's had a few weeks to heal up from the bruises that were inflicted there. McCaffrey, I thought, was running very hard, but again, if the pass game schematically is not delivering the chunk plays that it has in the past, then it's going to be a lot easier for the defense to be on its toes to play downhill against the run. I'm a big pass needs to set up the run guy. I think that's really, really important in this league. And I just don't think that the 49ers are threatening enough with the chunk plays right now to make their running backs look all too good. I think Christian's running fine. I think he's moving fine physically. I go back to the example of some of those sweeps, some of the reverses. If the defense is so ready for those plays, they're cutting off the perimeter on every single one of them in ways that we consistently haven't seen against the 49ers before. That shows you that the 49ers are going to need a little bit more of a counter punch downfield to get those defenses on their heels. And if and when that happens, Christian McCaffrey is going to look a whole lot better.
David Lombardi of San Francisco Standard. Good breakdown. Let's leave it at this, David. 5-5 at Green Bay, at Buffalo. 1 back in the West, 3 NFC West losses. Prognosis, as they said in Seinfeld, prognosis negative or ... some way out?
Well, they're 1-point favorites, 1-point underdogs at Green Bay. So it's essentially a toss-up. These are still winnable games for the 49ers. There's so much parity in this league right now. So they're not in an ideal position. They're not in an absolutely horrific one either. The NFL has been more unpredictable than ever, I feel, this year just because of the massive mush in the middle. And until further notice, the 49ers are still in that mush in the middle trying to separate themselves. But, there's precedent within this franchise itself going back 88. What were they, 6-5, right? So if they win this next week, they're going to be 6-5. They'll be right where a 49ers Super Bowl champion of the past was at that point of the season. So you've got to take it a week at a time and realize that they do have the firepower on this team to make noise. And I think that's clear in what we've been talking about, the way that they have been straining through and making some of these plays. But Kyle Shanahan has to regain his rhythm. And we've seen him snap out of rhythm before. All play callers struggle with this. It's an ebb and flow of the chess match. He just has to regain that rhythm on the fly, and I think that could help this team as it enters a true gauntlet. They're definitely not going to be favored to win the next 2 games, but their back will be up against the wall, and sometimes that's what a title pursuit and what sports are all about, how you can respond when your back is against the wall.
Good stuff, David. Love the conversation, man. Hey, enjoy the trip to Green Bay and in the sort of the pre-Thanksgiving vibe out there in the Midwest. And we will read you in the San Francisco Standard. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, David.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.